I want you to come up to the left-hand side here, click on the menu, and then click New REPL. And then, rather than Python website. Yes. I think it's the best thing to write it in. Yeah. You can technically write what we're about to write in just like a text document. But yeah, it's going to be very, very much a step by step. And I'm gonna do it along with you guys, and we're gonna just follow a video. So she'll tell us what to type, we'll type it, and we'll learn as we go. Okay? All right. So make sure you're not listening to any music while we do this. I do want to give you some time at the end to experiment, and then you can kind of plug your earbuds in and listen to what you want and work on your projects. Okay? So we're gonna call this My First Website, and click Create. And then it's going to take us to our console, our coding console. And it looks very similar to when we code in Python, but there's a few new things that we have. So it already writes some code for us, and in the video she's going to kind of go over what that code means. This is just like the basic building blocks that you need before you can start writing content into your website. But as I said, she's going to talk in the video about what these are. But what we have now is actually like a little web browser in our REPL thing. So when we click Run, instead of running in the black console and it being text, it's actually going to open our website. So that's really cool that we can actually have a real website within it. Yeah, absolutely, no problem. So you're just going to click the menu in the top left, and then click New REPL. And then in the language, choose HTML, CSS, JS, rather than Python. Samantha, if you could just make sure that Anna gets in, that would be great. And I want to get through this video as quickly as we can. We're just going to really follow along with what she's doing to learn the basics, but then I want you guys to be able to make a more personal website of your own. So I'm going to kind of have it side by side. But right now we're just going to watch the video. So has everybody made a REPL? Yeah? Great. Okay, let's watch.
HTML works? Well, you've come to the right place. In this video today, we'll be going through some HTML basics, and you're going to be making your very first website using HTML. We'll be going over 3 things today. The first is, what is HTML? Then we'll be going through some basic syntax. And third, you'll make a local website that you can load in your browser. But one thing to keep in mind is that we're not going to be going through any CSS or JavaScript today, so this website that we're going to be making is going to be pretty basic. It's not going to be all that pretty. Sounds good? Let's get started! Now, what is HTML? HTML stands for Hypertext Markup Language. It's a way of displaying information on web pages in your browser. One thing to remember is that HTML isn't itself a programming language, it's a markup language. Programming languages like PHP or Java use things like logic and conditions to control the content that you see. HTML doesn't do those things, but it's still extremely important. You can actually create an HTML file on your computer and load it in your browser. It won't be on the internet, so only your local computer can view it. To create your HTML file,
So she's going through how we would do this without REPL, because as I said, you can just open a text document and start writing code. We can even do that for Python as well. Like for instance, Emmy, the program that you wrote, you'd have made that in just a simple text document, like a TXT file, and then you just save it as a Python file, then that could be opened in any program that runs Python files. In the same way, our web browsers, like Chrome, can open HTML files. So she's showing us how to make an HTML file, but you already have it, so we don't have to go along with this. And what she was saying just there is that HTML is a markup language instead of a programming language. So programming languages go through lots of logic and we're giving instructions, whereas HTML just tells our browser what the website's going to look like. It's more of an aesthetic thing as opposed to like a functional thing.
Open up your computer's File program. In Windows, that's File Explorer, and on a Mac, it's Finder. In the program, go to your desktop or wherever you want to put the file. You'll want to create a new file in that location. Make sure that the file name reads index.html. On Windows, if for some reason you can't see the file extension, just click on the View tab and make sure that the file name extension's checkbox is checked. When you have your file all set, you'll want to open it in the browser.
Your file is called index.html.
If it has a Chrome or other browser icon on the left, you can double-click it to automatically open it. If not, you can also right-click and select Open With, and then select your browser. Now, in the browser, everything will look blank, which is fine because the file doesn't have anything in it yet. Now, in addition to opening the file in your browser, you'll also want to open it in a code editor. I'm using Visual Studio Code, and we're going to keep both the editor and the browser windows open next to each other, so it's easy to make code changes and view them immediately. In addition to Visual Studio Code, there's a lot of other programs that you can use. You can use Notepad++, Sublime, Atom, or Brackets. Most of those are free, and I've included links to each of these in case you want to download and install them. All right, now that you have the index file open in both your browser and your editor, we'll start writing some code. Let's look at some of the basic features of HTML. HTML is made up of tags. Tags are special text that you use to mark up or distinguish parts of your web page, hence the hypertext markup language. These tags tell the browser to display whatever is inside the tag in a specific way. So here's one example of a tag in action. I'm going to write out some text here. This is my very first website, and I'm extremely excited! Exclamation points.
So you guys can actually write this in your, well, in fact, you will need to write this in, oops, where it says, mine has loaded, just underneath where it says script, so it will be underneath line 10. So if you click to the end of line 10 and then hit enter, then you could write, this is my very first website, and then she used another tag, the B tag, just here. Let me zoom in on that. So to make a tag, you need the kind of little arrow looking keys, the left and right arrow looking keys, which you tend to find just here next to the shift, next to your question mark. You might have to hold shift, period, or shift, comma. And then something that is written in between a tag takes on that attribute. So this is the B tag, it makes everything in that tag bold. So I'm extremely excited. And then you need to use a closing tag. So you then just do /B. The closing tag is always the same thing, just with a slash. So /B. Let me zoom out. And then make that bigger again. Okay, then you can, once you've done that, you can click Run and see what that looks like in your web browser.
You can see that the words extremely excited are in these B tags. B is for bold. So let's save the file and reload your browser and see what happens. All right, you just wrote some HTML. Now,
is that what you guys got when you click Run? Yeah? Fantastic. Fantastic. And you see that the extremely excited is in bold, so that's the bold tag working there.
Let's look at the tag again. The tag before the phrase is called the opening tag. And the tag after the phrase is called the closing tag. You can also see that the closing tag has a / before the B. Together, these two tags tell the browser to make whatever text is between them bold, and that's exactly what happened. Now, maybe this is obvious, but when the browser loads the HTML, The tags themselves are invisible. They don't show up on the page. Pretty cool, huh? One reason I love making websites so much is that it's almost like magic, being able to make things appear in the browser window. Everything good so far? All right. Now, this line of text that we wrote is working in the browser because we saved the file as an HTML file. But for real HTML on the internet, we need to add some more tags to the file in order for everything to work properly. So let's just make some space up here at the top. And the very first tag that you need is the doc type tag.
Oh, we're going to have to deal with ads, unfortunately.
Want to stand out online? Go to Wix.com and create a professional website that's sure to get you noticed.
All right.
Start from
Doc type HTML.
So what you'll notice is that she is writing things that you already have in your document. So you already have this doc type HTML thing. What she's basically going to be doing is writing out what we already have written. What would you guys like to do? Would you guys like to delete everything that the code made for us and we'll write it absolutely from scratch? Or would you rather just watch as she kind of explains each thing? Okay, so it's up to you. Basically, she's going to be rewriting what we already have. So if you would like a challenge, you can delete everything and then start writing from scratch, following along with what she's doing. Or if you don't feel comfortable with that, you just, as she tells you what you're writing, you just kind of see over here where that is and what that does, okay? So it's up to you. So the first thing is the doc type HTML.
This isn't exactly an HTML tag, but you need it because it tells the browser that this is an HTML5 document. This tag doesn't require a closing tag because it's not surrounding any text. It's just declaring that this is HTML. If you're curious, other doc types that were used in the past are HTML4 or XHTML. But right now, HTML5 is really the only doc type used, so you won't have to worry about those other kinds. Then after the doc type tag, you have the main HTML tag. This tag tells the browser that everything inside it is HTML. I know, it seems a bit redundant since you already have used the HTML doc type tag, but this ensures that all the content inside it will inherit some necessary characteristics
So we also have an HTML tag here, the opening one, and then the closing one is down
here.
here.
Inside the main HTML tag, your content will usually be separated into two sections: the head and the body.
And the body is down here.
The head tag contains information about the website, and it's also where you load CSS and JavaScript files. We won't be looking at those today, but just so you know, the body tag is the main content in the web page. Everything that you see on the page will usually be in the body tag. So we need to move this sentence into the body.
Which you guys should already be in the body section.
Now let's reload the page. Make sure you save first, and it should look exactly the same, so we're all good here. Now let's go into some of the basic tags that are commonly used in the head and the body. I'm not going to go through every single possible tag in existence, so we'll just be looking at the ones that are used most often, so that you can get a better idea of how an HTML page is put together. Now, the first tag that should be in your head is this meta tag. Meta, and then you're setting the
we
char
also have
set
a meta tag,
to be
and we have the char set.
UTF-8. UTF-8 is a type of Unicode encoding used in virtually all websites around the world. We need encoding because we need to translate the letters, numbers, and symbols that we use into bytes used by computers. You can think of it as a sort of dictionary, translating human languages into computer speak. Now, the next meta tag that should be on all websites is this viewport tag. So you set the name attribute to viewport, then you have a content attribute, and you set it to width equals device width. Initial scale 1.
Is there anyone that's following along that needs me to pause it, or are you guys just watching as she types in? Watching? Are you guys watching as well? Yeah? Okay, great. I'll keep going. I won't stop then, because as you should see, is as she writes it, you should recognize it in your own code.
This may be a little, confusing or computer gobbledygook looking, but this is important for responsive websites. Responsive means that the website can display properly on all devices, computers, tablets, and mobile phones. The content in this tag is saying that it should make the width of the website the same width as whatever device that is viewing it. For example, a mobile phone has a much smaller screen resolution or size as a laptop computer. This will let the website resize itself according to what the user is using. Then the initial scale sets the zoom of the website. On browsers nowadays, you can zoom in and out, making the website look bigger or smaller. We want it to be set at 1 by default, meaning not zoomed in or out. Now, after these 2 meta tags, one of the most important tags that we're going to use is the title tag. As you can probably guess, this sets the title of the web page. If a website has different pages, each page can have its own title. So we'll add the title here, my first website. We'll save the file and then we'll reload. And you can see up here at the top in the browser tab, it has the title, my first website.
So you guys can actually come over to your code and you should have a title tag. So look for the word title in between the tags. And at the moment your title is just REPL, I think keep resizing with REPL.it. And I want you to change that title to my first website. Or whatever you want. So for me it's on line 6 is the title tag. I'm just going to change just the text in between the tags. Careful to not delete any of the other things around it. Change that to my first website. And then when you run the page, the name of the website will change. And now the name of it is either what will appear in the tab up here or how it will appear in like a search engine. When you search for a website, you know, you can see the kind of the name of the website in blue. That's what this changes. Let's keep going.
And that's it for the head tags. Now let's go into the body. We'll just keep the previous HTML that we wrote up here, so it'll still stay on the website.
So we're going to be adding a lot of new content to the body now.
Most of the basic body tags are based on things you could do in Word documents. You can create headlines, bold text, make lists, and even tables. In the days before CSS, using these tags helped to organize and stylize your content so that it would be more easily understood by your reader. Not all of these tags that we're going to go into are still used as much as they used to be. Some of them simply aren't needed anymore because we can now use CSS to achieve the same style. But I think it's still helpful to at least know what these basic tags are. Let's look first at the headline or header tags, designated with the letter H. Each H tag also has a number after the H, and they range from H1 to H6. The H1 tag is the highest in priority. It's generally used for the title of the page. We're going to add an H1 tag to our web page. Inside the tag, we'll put the title.
So she did that a little bit quickly. I want you guys to make this tag in your website. Let me zoom in. I apologize, it's a little bit pixelated. But just above where it says this is my very first website and I'm extremely excited, I want you to write this code, these tags. It's the H1 tag. It stands for header 1. You may find that as you write it, REPL suggests what you might want to write, and you can click on those suggestions. And in the thing that she's writing in, it automatically closed the tag for her as well. I'm not sure if REPL does that, so we may have to add that closing tag manually.
Below the web page, my first website. Save and reload.
Yeah, so she has written in between those two tags, my first website.
Load, and you can see, here's the title.
Did that work for you guys when you ran it? Did you get a title like that? Yeah?
Why isn't it working?
Isn't working? Okay. let's have you cast to the screen and let's figure it out. I think it should just automatically go to your code when you cast. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Yep, so you got that there. And when you click run, what happens? Run the REPL to see the output. Return the REPL.it. Huh. Was and it was running this before?
Yeah, it still wasn't working.
Oh, it wasn't working even then?
No.
I don't see anything wrong with it. First website, got the title tag there. Is it working for you, Samantha? It is? Yeah, you're able to kind of load the web page within the browser. What I'm going to suggest, because I can't see the obvious issue there, let me compare it to mine.
The other thing that's below, like this is my first website, it is in like a title font space. I was wondering how I could fix that.
Oh, really? Okay. Do you have the closing tag afterwards?
Yeah. Using the
I can't because this is.
I'll just sign out.
Hmm?
I'll just stop.
Oh no. Oh, okay. Yeah, sure.
Never mind, I fixed it.
Oh, you got it?
I forgot the slash.
Okay. Yeah. I'm wondering if it's. Can you delete this line? See if it's this line that's causing the issue. That's it. Yeah, run that now. Huh. Okay, head over and make a brand new one. So go go up to the menu. Yeah, that's it. And then new REPL, HTML. You just leave it as that, and then click create. Okay. And now run this one. Okay, so that one's running well. Okay, so just come next to a script on line 10, return down, enter down, make a new line, and then just do that H1 tag. So open tag H1. That's it. And then this is my first website. Good. That's great. And in between that, this is my first website. And then run that. Okay, so I'm thinking there must have been a typo somewhere that caused that problem.
Can you just delete that one there?
Yeah, sure. You could just delete it, or I mean, for now you could just stay in this one. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up, though. We do want to try and diagnose these problems as they come up. So, okay, let's keep going. Okay, are you able to follow along, Anna? Yeah. All right.
Let's now also add a subtitle using the h2 tag. And we'll put in an HTML playground.
So now she's just written the same thing, except she's written H2 instead of H1. H2 and HTML playground, and then closing H2. and then hit run on that. See what happens.
You can see that the subtitle is displayed at a smaller font size than the title. Now, just for fun, we'll put in all the H tags up through H6, just so you can see what it looks like. So H3.
So she just copied and pasted, so you just highlighted it, Control C, Control V, Control V, Control V, Control V, and now she's going to do H3, H4, H5, and H6.
H4, H5, and H6. Now, this is a little bit much. Most websites don't use all the H tags. Usually they'll just use H1 for the title.
I'll let you catch up. Let me go back to what she was writing. There you go. That's what it should look like. Okay. Good. Huh? Did you use the H1 tag? Yeah, that's good. That's what we were going for. But you'll see, as you use a higher number for the H, it makes a smaller header.
Now, this is a little bit much. Most websites don't use all the H tags. Usually they'll just use H1 for the title, H2 for the subtitle, and H3 sometimes for section titles. It's pretty rare these days to use H4, H5, and H6 tags. Now the next tag we're going to look at is the paragraph, or the P tag. Just like in Word, you can use paragraphs to separate your content into blocks. You can create your paragraph by surrounding your content with the P tags. We're going to make a paragraph with some placeholder text. One of the easiest ways to find placeholder text is to Google for lorem ipsum.
Okay, I actually want you guys to do this because this is a really good thing to know. So open up a new tab and type in those two words, lorem ipsum. And then you're going to click on probably one of the first links. They're all kind of the same type style of websites. You might see lorem ipsum generator or paragraph generator. Basically, it just generates gobbledygook. I believe it's Latin. It's if you just want to have lots of text rather than just typing hello and copying and pasting it multiple times, because sometimes we want to see what something looks like with a paragraph, this is a good place to come.
Lorem ipsum text is nonsense Latin words that are used in publishing and design to fill in text in order to work on the layout. So we'll copy this paragraph here.
So copy, if hopefully you guys have found a website, maybe it's a generator, maybe it's just text like this, and you're just going to highlight a paragraph, the first paragraph, and then press Control C.
And we'll put it into a P tag.
So let me zoom in on that, what she's done. So you can see underneath where she's put this, I'm sorry this is such low res, but underneath the line here, she's put an opening P tag, so arrow P arrow, and then she's copied and pasted the lorem ipsum paragraph, and then she's done her closing P tag. Now, obviously make sure that you've got that slash in that closing tag, otherwise it's going to apply to everything else. Same for your headers as well. So Anna, I'm not sure if all of your text is massive. Is all of your text massive on the page? No. Okay, good. All right. You guys able to do that? Great.
I got mine in English.
That's okay. As long as it's just a paragraph, that's fine.
Now let's make a second paragraph too. We'll copy some more text and put it into.
So she's gone back to her website, grabbed another paragraph, and then just put it in another P tag. Underneath. Better. You guys able to do that? Get the second paragraph done? Yes? No? Need help? You good, Emmy?
Yeah, just the writing's there.
Hmm? The writing is on. Do you want to cast again?
Sure.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. And then you've got lorem ipsum, and then can you scroll down?
Oh.
Yeah, that was good.
Okay.
Great.
I was like, I don't know what's going on.
So what she's done is added another paragraph. So if you go underneath where your first paragraph was, and she added another p tag. If I go back to it, you'll see. Underneath. With another line with another paragraph, okay?
Okay.
And that's just to show how it kind of breaks up paragraphs when you click run.
Now let's see what this looks like.
So you see it's put
So
a
there we
break.
have it. The browser automatically adds some space between the paragraphs and other content.
Did it work?
Now, if you want to separate your content onto multiple lines, but you don't want that space that comes with a paragraph, you can use a line break or a BR tag. So let's get some more lorem ipsum text. And put it
Grab
into
another paragraph of lorem
without a
ipsum
p
text,
tag
or
this
you can
time.
just grab the same paragraph, that's fine.
Now, one interesting thing to note about HTML is that it won't automatically break lines. So if you press enter a bunch of times, and
Okay, so she's talking about making these line breaks, so like to separate up paragraphs so the text is not all on top of each other. So what she's done here is she's grabbed another paragraph. This time she's not done the p tag, she's just put it in between the body tags just after the last paragraph. And what she's demonstrating right now, that even though she has put lots of spaces in between this line and this paragraph, the computer is going to ignore it. So you need to actually code a line break if you want to have a line break. And so she's going to demonstrate that now.
the text.
And we have another advert.
You're not going to see anything different on the page. And the same goes for if you press spacebar a whole bunch of times. It looks exactly the same. What HTML does is that it will only allow one space between a bunch of enters or spaces. In order to create an actual line break, you need to add the BR tag. So let's try that here. Let's get rid of this extra space since it's not doing anything. And we'll add in a BR tag.
So after the first sentence, she's just added a BR tag. Now a BR tag doesn't have a closing tag, it's just BR. So you just put that line, BR, and then the arrow. Just put that after one of your sentences, and you'll notice that it adds like a return to bring this text down one line. Did that work? Yeah, just a BR tag. Cool. Stands for break or line break. Oh, good question. We'll go. So that's more of a style thing, and we're going to go into that when we talk about CSS. But we are going to talk about adding images this week, so we'll get into that shortly. So when she keeps talking about CSS and JavaScript, we're going to go on to those in a few weeks' time. And CSS is all about making our websites look pretty. HTML just deals with adding content to the website. Does that make sense? Yup.
So now you can see that this sentence is starting on the next line. You can even add multiple BR tags, and doing so will add space between your content.
So she literally just added
on
like
BR tags, they don't have a closing tag.
5 BR tags in a row, BR, 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 and it added multiple breaks if you wanted to do that.
It doesn't need one because it's not used to surround text, kind of like that doc type tag at the top. These types of tags that don't need a closing tag are called void elements. Void meaning empty because they have no content. One other thing to note about this is that you might sometimes see the line break written as ER with the closing slash. This was a requirement for XHTML, but in HTML5 we don't need the slash. The browser will still read the tag correctly, but I'd still recommend writing these void elements without that slash. The next set of tags we're going to look at are style tags. These tags add styles to the text. They can be bold, like we did in the very beginning, and there's also italics, underline, emphasized, and strong tags. Like we said before, these style tags aren't used as much anymore because now you can use CSS to style everything. It's pretty straightforward what they do, and we'll go through each of them here. Now, let's use the
Various style tags. So we already used the B style or the bold style tag to make our text bold. She's adding another one here. And what she's just doing is she's taking a line or a sentence from our gobbledygook paragraph or whatever kind of paragraph that you have. And you can do this even with the one that's within the P tags too. And she's just taking a sentence at a time and adding a tag around the sentence. So here she's using the B tag to make this text bold. And she's going to do this several times for different styles like underlining, italics, that kind of thing. So he's going to add open B and close B to make it bold. Did that work? Great.
Now let's do the italics or the I tag next. I'm just going to put this on a new line.
So she's added a break after that, BR, after the first line. You don't have to do that, but that's what she's wanting to do. And now she's using the I tags, the italics tags, which is just, rather than B, it's I. And then she's going to highlight her next sentence and put it in between those two I tags. So go ahead and do that now.
The I tag. And we'll load the page. You can see it's now italics. We'll just keep
Did that work for you guys? Did you get bold and italics? I'll give you a chance to catch up. Let me zoom in. How's it going, Samantha? Good? How about you, Anna? How's it working? Yeah?
Are the brackets like the I like the have, and then like the ones on like the B, C, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it kind of makes sense. Like I, italic, B, bold. BR, break. So they all kind of stand for something.
doing the same thing for all the rest
Just
of these
adding
tags.
another break.
So the next one we'll look at is the underline or the U tag.
So now U stands for underline. And she's putting the U tag around another sentence and adding another break to underline the text.
And it's underlined. Then we'll do the emphasize or EM tag.
Now the emphasize tag and the next tag that she's going to use, the strong tag, they're just, I don't know why she really uses them because they're basically the same thing as italic and bold. It's just a different way of doing the same thing. So you don't necessarily have to follow along with these tags. The main ones that I want you to experiment with is the B tag, the I tag, and the U tag. Okay?
You'll notice that the default for emphasize is just italics again. And the same thing goes for the strong tag. The strong tag is basically the same thing as the bold tag. So that's it for the style tags. Now let's look at the horizontal rule. This will create a line on your web page. We'll just add this in here. And HR is the horizontal rule tag. So let's reload that. You'll see you now have a horizontal line going across the entire web page. You can see that the
All right. So in between the paragraph, you just added the tag HR, standing for horizontal rule, or like horizontal line, like ruler. And that adds a line going across our page. So this is really helpful if you're adding different sections to your website. So go ahead and add an HR tag somewhere in your document.
content before the HR tag is above the line, and the content after the HR tag is below the line. Now, the link tag. As you probably know, links are one of the main ways that we get around the internet, right? You go to one website to look at stuff, then you click a link to go to another website, and so on.
This one is a little bit more complicated. There's a little bit more to it. So I suggest you pay really careful attention to this bit. This is to turn your text or even images into links that take people elsewhere on the internet.
So let's make a link tag here. The link tag is written as an A tag.
So you write the letter A to make a link tag. And just like the bold, italic, and underline, just going to put it around the text that you want to turn into a link. Okay? So, yeah, just using the phrase A. It's a little bit closer for you. There's the opening A and the closing A with the /A.
Now, that A stands for anchor because the link connects the two websites like a boat anchor connects a boat to whatever it's anchoring to. First, put the A tag around the link text that you want to be clickable, as we've done here. Now, in addition to just writing the tag, you need to add an attribute. The main attribute that you need to add in your A tag is Href. This stands for hypertext reference.
All right. So let me zoom in on that. So after the first A tag, you're going to come in between the A and the arrow and make a space, and then type Href. Stands for hyperlink reference. Href equals, and then 2 speech marks. This is an attribute. This is what this is called. This is a tag, and within the tag, tags can have attributes to tell them more specific information. And within here is where we're going to type the website that we want this link to go to.
And inside this attribute, you want to put in the URL of the website that you want this link to go to. So let's say we want to link to the Google homepage. So we'll add an href value of https www.google.com.
That's frustrating. It's gone into another line.
Now let's reload the page. So we'll add an href value of https www.google.
Yeah, you guys know the thing for google.com, but this is the bit that you need kind of at the start. It's not showing up. Well, once I've had the other two ladies write this in, just write the Google link. You see? Okay, great. Just write www.google.com. Is it working for you guys? I don't know if maybe I'm going too slowly. You good? Okay.
Google.com. Now let's reload the page. You can see here that this text is the purple color. Purple means that you've actually visited that link before, and if the link is a link that you've never been to before, it'll be blue text. Now if we click that, Lo and behold, it loads the Google homepage. Let's go back to our website. URL stands for Universal Resource Locator. This acts as an address that will give you the location of the web page or the file that you want to load. Now, another often used attribute in the A tag is target. This controls if the link that you click will open the same page that you are on, or if it will open a new page or a new tab in your browser. If you don't have a target attribute, by default the browser will load the link in the same page. Let's add a target.
So right after where you said google.com,
in a new web page. So
you're going to write target equals blank. And it needs to be underscore blank. It's difficult to tell here because it's underlined, but this here is an underscore. Which you'll find just above the hyphen key next to, kind of close to the backspace key. You need to do shift and then hyphen, or subtract. So right after where you put google.com, you're going to add the word target equals underscore blank within speech marks. And then rather than opening in the same web page and kind of replacing your content, it opens in a new tab now, in theory. Okay? You guys able to do that?
So we'll type in underscore blank. We'll save that, reload it, and then now click on the link again, and you'll see that the Google homepage has loaded in a new tab. The next thing we'll look at is images. To put an image on your web page, you can use the image tag, written out as img. So let's add that to.
So underneath your paragraph, open tag img.
Now it's blank, so it's not going to display anything on our website if we reload it.
For image.
Similar to the link tag we just did, the image tag needs a URL. But instead of href, like the links use, the image tag has an attribute of src, meaning the source of the image. So we'll add in that attribute. Now, in order to put an image...
Alright, let me zoom in on that. So this is the tag we're doing to get an image. We've got the image tag, img, and then we need the source for that image. And this could either be a file on your computer, and the file has to be stored in the same area that the website file is stored. So when you look on the left-hand side of your screen, you see all of your files, your index file, your CSS file, and your JavaScript file. That's where you need to store the image that you want to add. Or you could use a website URL, like a web address to an image that's on the internet, which is what she's about to do. So you need that src and then equals and speech marks. That stands for source, the source of the image.
Image on here, we need to find an image, let's say on the internet, to use for this example. One really helpful place that I go to for test images is placeholder.com.
So you guys can find your own image. She's just going to a website that adds a placeholder image. So this would be helpful if you're making a website for someone. You don't actually have the images that they want you to add. You're just going to add something in place. Like we have placeholder text, like the lorem ipsum stuff. This is placeholder images. But you guys can go to Google Images and find your own Google image. And then you just need to right-click and then on the image and then do copy link address. Copy link address in order to get the URL.
This website is super helpful because you can generate an image of any size depending on the values that you put in the URL. So let's just copy this, and then we'll add it into our source.
So in between the speech marks, you just added the web address.
Let's see how that looks, just to make it interesting.
Okay, so see if you guys can copy that and see how that looks on your website. All right.
Now if we load our page, we'll see that we now have a bulleted list of all the fruits that we put in here. Now just for you to see, if we change this unordered list to an ordered list.
So she's just changing the U to an O now.
You can see that the bullets are now replaced by numbers. We just want to work with the unordered list right now.
Okay, were you guys able to do that? You don't have to do all of the list things, it's just experimenting. So you open it with UL, and then within the UL tags you have the LI tags, and it makes a list. Did that work for you, Emmy? Samantha, did it work for you? Yeah? Anna, were you able to do it? You still working on it? That's okay. And then she just changed it to a numbered list by changing the U to an O in UL. Change it to ordered list.
Another thing that you can do is you can even nest lists inside one another. So let's say I want to add different types of apples under apples. We would create a new list tag inside the list item in question with its own list items. So within the apple li tag, we'll actually add a new ul tag under the apple text. Then we'll add li tags, each with a different type of apple. So let's put in Golden Delicious, Granny Smith, and Gala.
Okay, so see if you guys can do that. So this is making a sublist, or an indented list, or a list within a list. Different types of apples. So underneath where she wrote apples, she indented again, and then she made another unordered list. And then she's made a new list of types of apples, and then she's closed her unordered list.
We'll reload our page, and you can see now under apples we have another child list indented even more than the original list was. This brings me to an important aspect of writing good HTML. If you put an HTML tag inside another one, that's called nesting. Not so much bird type nesting, but more like Russian doll nesting. An element inside another one is called a child element, and the outer element is called the parent. So in this case, the apples list item is the parent item of the apple type list. In order to organize the parent and child elements, we indent the child element. This helps it distinguish from the parent. So you can see with this list of fruits, I've indented the main list items, apples, oranges, pineapples, and so on, from the UL tag. Then inside the apples list item, I've indented once more to create the unordered list tag, and indented yet again to put in the list items for the types of apples. Doing things like this helps keep your code clean. It doesn't matter to the computer, but for humans reading your code, it will enable you and other people to quickly understand what your code is all about. If all the HTML elements weren't indented at all and were all on the same level, things would look a lot more confusing. Let's just demonstrate this with the list. So I've now unindented everything, and you can see that it's a little harder to see that there is an apples child list using the types of apples. So it's just better to keep all your code indented nicely. And this practice of indenting, it's considered good practice, not just for HTML, but also for CSS, JavaScript, and basically any programming language that's in existence. At my first job, indenting was the first thing that I was taught during my training. It's pretty important because there's nothing worse than having to work on someone else's code and having it be a complete mess. So indenting is an easy way to make sure that you're writing code that other people and yourself in the future can go back and read. And speaking of indenting and nesting elements, the last HTML tag that we're going to go through uses a lot of that. It's the table. Tables were originally used as an efficient way to organize data into rows and columns. Kind of like an Excel spreadsheet if you worked with those before. So to demonstrate a table, let's make a table for a hypothetical monthly budget of a household.
So we're probably not going to have time to go through tables extensively, but what I'm just going to do is fast forward to where she's actually written out the code, and then you guys, well, maybe even I can just write it myself, and then you guys can kind of copy along, and we'll just speed it all up a little bit. So if you come over to your code, underneath your last thing that you were working on, And we're now going to type the table tag. So let me just see if I can zoom in on this element. There we go. Okay, so underneath my image, I'm going to tab in to nest it. I'm going to type the table tag. Table. I'm going to hit enter. And then I'm going to hit enter again, and then go back, and then close up my table tag. And you'll see, because you may have already noticed this, but it kind of recognizes that I've started the table tag and suggests the closing tag for me. I'm going to click that. And so within here is where I'm going to make my table. So I'm going to tab in. The first thing we need is a table row. So you make the table using rows. So to make a table row, you do the tag tr. tr. And then you're going to do the same again, enter down, go back, and then close that tr tag. So this is the first row in my table. The first row in your table is going to be your header row, where you have your headers. So in order to make a table header, you use the th tag for table header. And rather than spacing down, I'm now going to write the name of my header. So I might call this header like ID number. This was for like students or something, like a student database. And then I'm then going to use my close th tag, which it suggests for me. I'm going to make another one by coming down and doing another table header. And now I'm going to do student name, maybe. And then close table header. And then I'll do one more table header. Oops. Of maybe grade. The grade of school that they're in. And I'll close that table header. That's my first row. So if I was to run that right now, underneath my image, kind of boring, but I have a table that's kind of starting to form here. It just says ID, ID number, student name, and grade. To actually add data into my table, I need to add another row. Oops. Get back here. To add another row, I'm just going to add another tr tag. And then close that tr tag. And rather than using th for table header, I'm going to use td for table data. So maybe my first student has the ID number 1234, and I'm going to close table data with /td. And then my next piece of data is student name, and so just I'm going to do my name, and then close my table data tag. And then finally, my last piece of data is the student's grade. So let's say I teach 4th grade, so I'm going to put 4, and then I'm going to do //td. And although it doesn't look great just yet, I now have a very simple table that's forming just here. And in order to make it look more table-y, we're going to have to finish here because we're 1 minute over time. In the table section, I'm going to add an attribute of a border. I'm going to set it equal to 1. And then run that. And now you can see it's very basic looking, but we have a table. That's what it would look like. Let me just go back to the code that I wrote for that and zoom in. And then we're going to call it a day there once you guys have been able to practice that a little bit. This is a very simple table written in HTML. There's other style attributes that you can add other than border. But maybe just practice that and then we'll call it a day there. And you guys can sign out, save, sign out, because we'll keep working in this website, so make sure you save it. And then we're done. Well done. You guys have officially coded a website now, which is great. And next time we're going to look at more making it look really pretty using different fonts, different colors, backgrounds, all that good stuff. Need to use hand sanitizer. You okay? You're in your eye? What kind of level are they? Have they done any coding before? So I would recommend that they would join the next Coding 1 course, which is the one that you already did. But yes, that will be in the new year. And you would just come. Are you okay, Anna? Yeah, rinse ice thoroughly with water. Maybe we won't use this one anymore. But yes, if they sign up through the website, they can just take you to the whole of it. And they can sign in. All right.
I was just getting home with Tarish.
This is very kind of
Oh my goodness.
it's like eye level high. And it's like super strong. So I think we'll use the hand one.
So, you look for that?
No, it's here.
Oh. So, you're doing the because I don't think it's going down anytime soon. And, you know, with Lisa not being able to come in and just like the room and look at
Yes.
how's that work for you? Or Kelsey?
I agree. With Elsie's one, it's just that I don't think any of them have any laptops at home.
Got it. So they have to because this, you know, this is something that they probably all have in school.
Yeah, the kid.
How do you
My
feel
one.
going all this doing it live, you know?
We can do that. Yeah, I think we can figure that out.
Do you need, like, is it better with Zoom? Do you need to do Zoom one instead? Or do you just record it? Or like?
Sorry, I just need to hit stop on this. I realize I'm still recording. I just remembered that. I don't want the files get super big. I'm just gonna hit stop.